couple of things that I would like to start off with are I noticed that I kind of made a mistake in the point values for what was last week's project. Remember last week I told you, oh, I'm not going to grade this, but I had attached 200 points to that presentation. Remember, we're just getting started on this final project. And so I changed that from 200 just to 8 points, just to let you know that you did it. Because the final project is 1,000 points. And so, you know, literally, if you could think about just knocking it out of the park for the final, you could change your grade by a lot, or you could devastate your grade by a lot. So just having said that. All right, so I have an agenda for today. A bunch of students handed in their most recent student film, and Brooke is going to be a little late today. So I think she said she was going to come in about halfway. I don't know exactly how she's going to accomplish that, but I told her that I would wait. She gave me the link to their little film that they made. Paul said he loved it, and that there's going to be awards on the table again for Kenyatta College. So then the next note that I have here is we have to catch up on some critiques from last week, and I don't see that everyone who needs to do those critiques is here yet. I'm just taking a quick consensus here. Couple of you. Couple over here. So, you know, if those people who aren't here, I can't, I don't want to critique it and record it and then have them watch the whole class. I can do it next week or something like that. Looking at my notes here, we finish in 3 more weeks. We have 3 more meetings. Okay, let me just do one more thing first before I. All right, and I see I put a note in there to the class. So in the assignment area, I put a, for those of you who either have stuff that they would like to show me or didn't post last week, I put in an assignment, again for 8 points today, just called 25 November Critique. So if you just want to put your PDF in there, that would be ideal. And we could just do a bunch of the critiques that way. That would help. Okay, so then the next point that I wanted to talk about, and we should be talking about, you know, all 5 points of our rubric every single week. But I just have a couple of things just about drawings, just some suggestions, and realizing that it's a very difficult transition to go from a traditional pencil to a digital stylus. In my playbook, it took me 40 years to learn how to use a stupid pencil. I'm still learning things about the stupid pencil. And I think it takes an equal amount of time to learn how to use the stylus. I was doing a little demo for my class on Monday, and I was talking just about thick and thin line quality, thin to thick to thin. It's kind of like that ideal line that you want to get. And I don't know, it was like the strangest thing in my hand where, especially with a digital stylus, you get that little hook at the end of every single line. It's treacherous, it's horrible. And you can see that some people slow down in their actual drawing to try to compensate for that. Others have just kind of, over the years, mastered the idea of how to get rid of that little hook. When I was doing my master's thesis, I had to employ 14, 17 different students to help me either do key or lead key or breakdown or assisting on all drawings. And God damn it, if the little line in Toon Boom was just got a little hook on it, it was a bear to paint. The vectorization, just like, oh, well, you don't want that painted the same color, and I'd be fixing lines for hours. And at one point I was like, I should have just animated, did all the in-betweens myself. You know, spent an extra 50 hours just doing every single in-between myself. So I have a couple of suggestions for that. And then I want to take a jump into just the story points of continuity. I think that when we talk about continuity, we talk about the 180-degree rule, that's a really good thing to understand. It's like, don't cross the 180-degree line. Well, I have some other things for you to think about today, just in terms of continuity. There's a whole bunch of things that are mostly associated with live action that those notes are coming from. All right, and then I have another note here just about slugging. In the last time I taught this class was autumn. Yes, Hannah Joy. You could just talk. Hannah put a note in there. Yeah, I've noticed that too. And it depends on, like, if you're in Toon Boom, Hannah, then any amount of hook when you're trying to close large gaps, I call it chasing vectors, because then you gotta like keep digging all the way down into the corner of the triangle in order to paint the whole shape, and it's a mess because it doesn't amalgamate, it doesn't pool all one shape. Toon Boom remembers all those little clicks you did, and if you're trying to paint a gradient, forget it. You know, so you have to figure out how to work clean at one point. All right, then, so I did want to revisit the idea of animatics, and I have a note for myself just right here about diving into this, because I think I did animatics for you one time before, but it would make sense to do it again, and it would also make sense to do it with someone's boards as you have them. And I can do it very easily. I can do it very fast. And I'll do that next week. So just a note for you. And then I noticed a couple of things, and this isn't just you, this is all my classes. You all need practice with file names. So I'm gonna go over that for you. And then there was one other note. I think that when we started the class, I was making a passionate plea to all of you to remember that whenever you're doing any ideation or thumbnails or intermediate boards or full boards, to stay with the 16:9 aspect ratio. It is just industry standard. In this Zoom window, all of you are 16:9. You know, Christo's got a little drawing of himself that's square, fit inside. You know, Jasmine's got the little J, but all of us who are live on camera, it's 16:9. And it's no one's fault except for the consortium of people who run the broadcast for America and therefore the world, because someone had decided somewhere around 1995 almost that 16:9 was going to be the go-to ratio for TVs. And then they started switching over from 3:4, which was Academy ratio, into 16:9. And it just kind of irked me, because when you're studying design, there's an element of design called the golden mean. And the golden mean just takes a bunch of Fibonacci numbers and it factors all these numbers out to near infinity. And you come up with a number that's like 1.61389. And it's like this weird number that occurs in nature, in the way pineapples grow, in the way sunflower seeds grow. It's like lots of things that grow base their DNA on the golden mean. And it's just kind of a natural rhythm. And it's 1 to 1.61. And so when you look at the golden mean, there's like this, well, here, I'll show you why it irks me. Because so this is coming in at 1.6180339. And again, that in the Fibonacci, if you're interested, you just kind of look at the ancient Greeks, had nothing to do except for add numbers together and then divide them into each other. And they realized that in the Fibonacci sequence, that adding 0 to 1 is 1, and then 1 to 1 is 2, and then 2 to 1 is 3. And you get the numbers, when you divide them into each other, it gets really, really close to this number, which is the golden mean. And so, but when you take film ratio and you say, what is 16 by 9? The ratio comes out to 1.7. Well, this one has 1.78 to 1, but in math, it's actually 1.7777 repeated to infinity. And so this 1.78 is just a little too close to this 1. Why did they just go to 1.61? And why is 16 by 9? Why? This is just a little bit too random. You know, why 16 by 9? Why couldn't it be, I don't know. So it just irks me, but we are using it. So remember that, and this is like a little demonstration here of this little JPEG here, SVG, scalable vector graphic, showing you what the 4:3 ratio looks like over 5:3, which no one uses. 185 is right here. 16 by 9 is right here. And so, all of these have different names like Cinescope and Panavision. There's all kinds of names for them too. So everyone's stuck with it. The Academy students of mine are having trouble with it as well. So I just wanted to make sure that you all remember that it's easier. And you heard me say this last week when we were doing our critiques, and a couple weeks ago when we were doing our critiques. It's easier to talk about composition and clarity of camera and focal points when you stay 16 by 9, even if you're doing your very first thumbnails. It's very difficult to kind of recompose unless you're drawing fast and you're making a mental note that you're gonna recompose. All right, so let me just do one thing here before I start sharing my thing. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to show you, and I don't hear anybody. Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You guys aren't rowdy enough. Come on, man. Tomorrow is Turkey Day. I want you to be rowdy. So
Turkey!
So the one thing that I wanted to start off with was this. Did anybody see this today?
What the fuck is that?
So
Disgusting.
it looked like
Corgi.
some
Are those corgi butts?
Japanese baker
Corgi butts.
making these donuts, and he posted it on Imgur.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Gross. Gross. Yeah, I'm not sure if I would eat that or not. All right, so the second thing that I wanted to talk about, more important, is that you heard Josh and Ashley last week talking about showrunner. And remember that when I was working at WildBrain was more like an agency with an animation house attached to it. And so we were not technically doing TV animation, although we were. The animation was being done in the Philippines. When we did Fern Gully 2, The Magical Rescue, we had that done in Korea. So we were parsing things out all over the place. We never had anyone in our team ever called a showrunner. And so just to make sure that you all knew, it's basically an executive producer. And an executive producer is the top position. They're setting the vision, they're setting the culture almost for the studio. It's kind of like the auteur of the studio. So when they say showrunner, that's actually an executive producer position. Although it was kind of weird because when they were talking about it, they didn't seem like that person had an executive producer kind of responsibility. It could be that they just have a different hierarchy at the studio that they were working on at. So I just wanted to share that with you. Showrunner, just think about it as an executive producer. All right, so this is the thing that I just posted on my storyboard page. And I just love this drawing. It looks like a Glen Keane drawing, but I don't think it's a Glen Keane. Usually on social media, anything that is drawn by him is always attributed. There's always like a little tag, you know, Pocahontas or Beauty and the Beast or any of the films that he's worked on. And it might cross-reference them because his line style is so similar. But I thought that this was just really beautiful, just really, it's a rough drawing, but it's really perfect. There's 3D geometry. You can tell that there's that pressure on the pencil where they're laying in the dark underline for a chin here, which gives the head some weight. You can tell that it's not quite done because they wouldn't go back in and define the toes just a little bit more, but the focal point's the eye. So all of the drawing here is just absolutely great. Whoever did this drawing got the eyes right. You always want to get the eyes perfect. And so I just wanted to share this with you. It's on my board. And then obviously it's cross-referencing a whole bunch of other stuff, mostly eyes at this point. So, and remember that what you're trying to do if you're drawing digitally is trying to do drawings like this with your stylus. There were a couple of things that Ashley was showing us last week that were just kind of like digital ropes or digital jelly beans almost. All her lines had the same kind of weight all the way through the drawing. And in a couple of places, her ears were in the wrong place. More than likely, if she's doing the storyboard, the first pass at it, someone else is going to have to go back in and put the character on model. Has anyone ever not heard that term before? On model. So you'd have to draw the character so that it looks on model. All right, so I just wanted to share that with you. Let me see if there's anything. Oh yeah, I had a coyote. And I think I was just concentrating on eyes for these last 3 posts that I put in there. I don't think this is a production drawing from the Warner Brothers studio. I think that they just kind of redid this more modern. It looks like it maybe even been done in digitally. And this I added just because it kind of looks like, what's the mean girl from Cats Don't Dance? Angelica? No, not Angelica.
Darla?
What's her name?
Isn't it Darla or something like that?
No, no, it's not Darla. $1997. I'll never forget one of the owners of Wild Brain coming in after seeing Cats Don't Dance on opening night. He's like, "Oh my God, it's the best film ever made." Really, truly, the animation is stunning. Mark Dindal went on to do like a whole bunch of other things. Emperor's New Groove. He was a writer for Chicken Little. You know, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So, and he's a visual effects on all kinds of stuff. So Mark Dindal is a hero in our industry. No, Cats Don't Dance. Sawyer. Oh, it was Darla Dimple. Say Jasmine? Jasmine. Did you say Darla Dimple?
I said Darla.
Yeah, you're
Dimple.
right. I'm sorry. I'll take it back. I apologize. Yeah, I always like that. The fact that she's like this cute little girl, but she is like the worst villain ever. Yeah, and so that kind of looks like Darla Dimple. And this is a really great drawing. But it doesn't necessarily have to be, your storyboards don't have to look like this. This is very similar to Scotty Young's drawings. And so I'm going to go on just a drawing tangent for you. And I think that, well, I did this last week. This is kind of what Ashley and Josh were both talking about, fan art. If you're drawing Batman and Penguin like Scotty Young is doing it, that would be fine. But if you're putting together a portfolio, I promise you, you don't want to do fan art. You don't want to just do a drawing of Miles Morales from Into the Spider-Verse just like he is on the screen. People will not appreciate that. You want to do Batman in your own style, and you have to separate that. You don't want to do the Joker as Danny DeVito unless you're spoofing him or putting your take on it. If Andrew Green's got his way of special drawing. This is what they meant. And I always veered away from fan art because it's one of the higher levels of drawing. You would be getting there 10 years or 15 years into your journey, into your career. It's really hard to do fan art for Calvin and Hobbes. Almost everything that I've seen of people drawing in the style of Bill Watterson, I hate it. Because Bill's drawings are just so perfect all by themselves. Scotty Young's are just unbelievably great. If anybody's interested, Scotty Young did drawings for Neil Gaiman's Unfortunately the Milk, and they're just crazy. So here's another one. Chris Grimley, and his illustrations are on just crazy in the same kind of vein. Just really, really well done. That line weight, you can tell that he's using light blue pencil and then marker and then paint brushes. Oh, by the way, all this stuff here that's drawn by Scotty Young. He draws with a non-reproduction blue pencil, and then these are done with a paintbrush. He doesn't even draw with graphite. He just puts the light blue line down and then paintbrush. It's kind of like a comic book artist. Peter DeSeb did the concept drawings for Ice Age. His drawings are just crazy beautiful. He's got a little book out there. They're stunning. Everything he touches is more than gold. So Peter DeSeb, and then so what I'm going to do is we're just going to talk about Carter Goodrich here for a second. And then I'm going to leave it to you because there's a whole bunch of making of books, or you can, and those are great. So you just go to any kind of library or see if you can find a copy of the making of Brave, and then see who did all the concept work for that movie. And often a company like Pixar or Disney, Warner Brothers, Hanna-Barbera, anybody, Paramount, that's doing an animated feature will send a whole blanket of requests out to anyone that they might think fits their style of any kind of film that they're making. How to Train Your Dragons, Chris Sanders, right? And all those call for entries are going to pay them a nominal fee, about $500 a day. They're going to say, okay, I need a hero and a villain. I need a dragon. I need 3 fish. And I'll give them a couple weeks. They'll give them a month. They'll give these concept people a month to put together like a whole portfolio of drawings. And so the making of books are just great, and pick them all the way from Toy Story all the way to Wolf Walkers. You know, they're all out there. Just pick up one or two, or go on Internet Movie Database and figure out who did the. Sometimes they call it something, because when you're doing a movie, you can put in your own category. But like in the art department, you know, this is all storyboard artist. And so visual development sometimes comes up. So that's pretty common, that a character designer or a concepts designer or visual development will show up on Internet Movie Database. And it's not a standard tag. When you're doing your movie, you can call it whatever you would like. It might even, some of the character designs and drawing styles might fall under visual effects sometimes. You know, you would think, oh, visual effects, you know, oh, that's just water splashing, but it depends on the movie. So, so once again, just kind of cross-referencing all the great people that studios always go to. Carter Goodrich is amazing. Peter DeSev, Claire Wendling. You know, her stuff is just beautiful. Their lines are just so tight. Her stuff is just great. It's astonishing. All right, and then the other one, I'll do one more, and that is, oh, I forgot her name. I forgot her name. I've looked it up before. Is it showing up? No, I guess I must be getting old. You know, Glenn Keane's stuff is completely crazy awesome. So, and there's a whole bunch of them. So I'm just touching the very tip of the iceberg here. All right, and then I just wanted to come back to this for just a second, because in my notes, I think that this becomes really important. The idea of having a couple of story panels before this guy turns his head. So you have an OS, you have over the shoulder shot. And so you see like his other shoulder, the reverse angle here, and then a noise is made. And then he turns his head in this panel, and this is a perfect motivational cut. And again, this is, oh, I just saved it to my effects board. I believe this is already on the storyboard page. And then remember last week we talked about this full version of it here, where the bull rides up on him. And so this is great. This is great. So this is a motivational cut. And like I said last week, just to reiterate, just to review, as long as you're doing this, as long as you have a character who's looking away from the camera, he hears a noise, he turns towards the camera, and then you cut, no one's going to be able to edit this. You will be in control of your story. All right, so that's a motivational cut. All right, then let me just go back to my notes for just 1 second. All right, so I'm going to go through just a couple of things here. I'm going to switch over to Google. So I remember we're in week 14 now, so it's about time we talk about all those almost advanced concepts in drawing for storyboarding. And so when we talk about perspective, when I say perspective, you know, this is a typical 1-point perspective here. There's one vanishing point right down the middle. So you just draw the horizon and everything vanishes to one vanishing. You should have seen this before. There's a grid that dictates where everything in your composition goes to. And here's a version of it where there's just two walls. Here's a version where you have 2-point perspective. So this line and this line over here converge way off the screen. And that's the left vanishing point. This line and this line converge way off the screen. Pause, dramatic pause. and that's the right vanishing point. So this is a 2-point perspective grid. Everyone okay? Heads, okay. And then if you have a vanishing point underneath, then you have 3-point perspective. So let's find 3-point perspective. And I'm not going to get it until I switch. All right, so let me change this to 3-point. So this is just your very first typical setup for left, right, and down vanishing point. Now in this example here, the vanishing points are way too close to the cube, and if they are really close to the cube, it'll distort the cube. So if I were going to put a picture frame on this, say, oh, it's not too bad. You see what I'm doing right there? Can you see the little floating rectangle in Zoom? Okay, so that would be fine. And you can obviously kind of just move the image around within your composition. Here's an example of a 3-point perspective where the vanishing points are really far off the edge of the screen, but you've got 3 points. So this is an aerial shot. This would be good for an establishing shot. It looks like this is the cleaned up version. And all these examples down here are really good examples of 3-point perspective. And you've all been in, so is there anyone who's never heard of 3-point perspective before? This should just be kind of a review, right? All right, so remember that the vanishing point should always be as far off the stage as possible. And that's why when I was telling you to draw your thumbnails far apart from each other, when you're setting up your original compositions and cameras, that you're not condensing your vanishing points so that they're too close to each other, because then you'll get distortion. All right, so as long as everyone understands that, what I'm going to do right now in art there, oh, hold on a second. All right, so when the Italians were writing the rules on perspective at the beginning of the Renaissance, they started with 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 5 point. And then they realized that within the composition of any kind of drawing, if everything in the composition is pointed to a vanishing point, it becomes very static. And you've seen those images where they're describing how tall people are in terms of vanishing points and heads tall. Well, this is called a universal perspective grid. In this grid, you can find 1 point, 2 point, 3 point perspective. If we turn this on its side and we were going to use just this corner right here, and we have a left and a right and a down vanishing point, that gives us 3 point perspective. But this is a universal perspective grid. I don't think you need to use this too much. It's very dramatic, that fisheye lens kind of thing. You know, there's an interesting example of it. You know, they make for interesting drawings, but I don't think you need to use it in storyboard.
Aaron's waiting to get in.
Who is?
Aaron.
Oh, sorry, Aaron. He was there and then he dropped out, huh? Okay, I got him back in, thanks. Okay, so, and I've never been able to find this on the fly, so let's see what we can do here. Yeah, I usually have to dig around for it or bring in the book that shows it, but in the opening shot for Pinocchio, well, this is close to it. And this one's close to this one right here. So what the animators had done is realize that they wanted a sweeping camera move over their big establishing shot. And there's vanishing points for all these houses are not lined up. They're all just kind of like medieval Europe still. And so they're just kind of I'm going to build my house right here. I'm not going to pay attention to where the road is. I want my window to face the morning sun. I want my window to face the setting sun. So when the animators were putting together the shots for Pinocchio, I think that my teacher told me that he actually took the main drawing, which this is very similar to what he was showing, and discovered that there were over 52 vanishing points in this background. So, and I don't think you have to be that complicated, but I think I do want you to be aware that your drawings can be however you want them to be. They don't have to be locked into just 2-point or 3-point perspective. You know, there's a real joy in drawings where the things aren't always just perfectly lined up. All right, so having said that, I'm going to put this away. All right, put this away, put this away. All right, so the other thing that I wanted to talk about was me getting my credential to teach. No, you don't want to hear that. All right, so then the next thing I wanted to talk about, I put them over here, was just the idea of continuity. So remember that when we were talking about continuity itself, I had you draw a map. And in that map, I said, here's your 180-degree line, right? And in order to stay with proper continuity, just regular continuity, your camera stays on one side of it. Just those who are on camera just nod, right? So your camera stays on one side. If you put your camera over on the other side, you're going to break continuity. It will be a screen direction error. Now remember, one of the things that you can do is, like, let's say that this guy right here stands up and walks through this door right here and the camera follows him. That's one way to break continuity. And this is a perfect week to talk about breaking continuity, because if your camera follows this guy right out the door, your audience is not going to be confused. You want to break continuity if you have a battle scene, and then you want your cameras all over the place, because breaking continuity causes, Jesse?
Confusion or chaos?
Or tension, exactly.
There you go.
So let's say that you're Woody Allen. You went to film school and you've got your camera here, and it is focused just on this guy sitting right here and this guy sitting right here, and the camera is just going front 90 degrees, front 90 degrees. There's no continuity error there. But in the movie Hannah and Her Sisters, there's a whole bunch of people sitting around a table, and the camera is outside, and the camera is just rotating all the way around the table 4 or 5 times. And Michael Caine is in that movie, right? And what's happening is that he's technically breaking continuity on a continuous shot because he wanted to cause tension with the dialogue that they were sharing with each other, right? Okay, so just to keep that in mind. And then in my book, if these two are talking and then this person gets up and walks over here, for instance, this person right here, and the camera wants to go on them, then, and you want to actually break the line of action, you can do that. Just stay there. Just stay there for a little while so your audience is not confused. Right? Right? So that's another rule. And so there's also a concept called a bridge shot. So that if these two people are talking, and this guy, I thought that I pulled this. So if someone is talking, and let's say that these two people are talking, the camera's front and then sideways, front and sideways, and then this person gets up and walks over here, but the camera doesn't follow them yet. We see this person get up and walk over here, right? But our camera's not on them yet. There's a thing called a bridge shot. Has anyone ever heard this before? So what the camera would see would be, and I don't know if I'm going to try to do this. So this is how a bridge shot would work. So what this camera sees right here would be just, you draw your horizon, draw your quick perspective, and you got the guy in the chair. So the guy's sitting forwards, try to get him into a 3/4, right? A 3/4 is always a better view. So the guy's just sitting there. He's got his
I don't
arm.
think we're seeing your shot.
You can't see it?
Yeah, you're sharing the website screen still.
I can only do it when someone is sharing their screen. Oh, darn it. Well, anyway, so let me just do it with my mouse. What the camera sees is this guy sitting in a chair. And then we cut to this guy sitting in a chair. This old woman gets up and walks over here. Now you can just cut to her if you want, and it'll be kind of abrupt. But there's also a thing called a bridge shot. And don't go trying to Google bridge shot because you're gonna get a bunch of pictures of bridges. What a bridge shot is the first camera's here, second camera's here, first camera, third camera, fourth camera, and then the fifth camera would be on, let's say this guy was reading a book. And so even though you're not breaking continuity, but you just show what this guy is looking at. So, and it doesn't matter if it's part of the story or not, but the camera sees that he's reading Rolling Stone magazine. So shot 1, shot 2, shot 3, shot 4, shot 5, and shot 6 is him. And during shot 5, this old woman got up and walked over here. Shot 6 is now his POV of the book he's reading, and then you can cut to the grandma. So that's called a bridge shot, right? All right, and then there's also a thing called a match cut, and you should know this. Here's an example. Can you see this? This is just from
Yes.
the Academy lecture in last week's lecture from my stop motion class, and so that's just a perfect match cut, and match cuts we've been using match cuts since the late 20s and early 30s. If you ever watch Citizen Kane is like the first movie that a film student is going to study, just because there's so many things about Citizen Kane that set precedents for cinematography. So this is a very good example of a match cut. All right, and then there's one other thing here, and let me just Google this. We don't use this too much in animation itself because our storyboards are just kind of driving. We're doing maps and we're not getting ourselves into any trouble. But in live action, there's a thing called master shot, and a master shot is that the director is just going to say lights or background, lights, camera, action, and they're going to do the first take by just doing maybe a wider shot and getting a master shot of the entire scene. And then they can always use that to go back to. The editor can always go back and put in parts or cuts or edits from a master shot. We don't really talk about them too much in animation, just because, in animation, we just kind of plan our shots with our maps. But it is a real thing, and you should know it. In a storyboard class like this, when you're going into your finals, there is a thing called master shots. Okay, so once again, just to reiterate, I'm going to just take one of the boards that one of you have submitted and talk about animatics next week. We would be able to do this a little more cleanly if we were on ground, but that's okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my list. Any questions?
Can I plug a project that I watched last night? So, what's his name? Robert Valley.
Robert Valley.
Added the animation for a documentary called Belushi. It's about John Belushi, and quite a bit of it is animated, and it's great.
So
quite good. And there's if you just look up Robert Valley, there's a video talking to him about his experience being a board artist and animator.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, this is coming from Cartoon Brew, and
Yeah.
I'm just going to put this in the chat down here. So you're all welcome to just look at that by yourself. So as long as you know, when I first started at Colossal Pictures in 1992, one of the first people I met was Robert Valley.
Is that right?
In my collection of art, I traded him some neon that I had done for a couple of his life drawings. And so we've been contemporaries since 1992. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
Robert
cool.
Valley's work very well. One of the first things that he did was start his own studio in San Francisco. They were part of Curious Pictures.
Mhm.
But they also had like a consortium of comic book people and animators together and everything. And they were putting together a commercial for Nike based on Peekaboo Street. And by 1994, she was like the hottest skier around. And the Nike people wanted Peekaboo to be skiing down the slopes, and then all of a sudden a bunch of monsters start chasing her. And so she skis real fast and she falls down this hole and she breaks her leg. And then the mystical witches come out. They're really tall and they fix her leg by giving her bionic legs. And then she finishes skiing and she wins. She even goes faster than the villains who are on ski-mobiles, snowmobiles. But the problem is, and we had just finished this. This was hand-drawn animation that was Xeroxed onto watercolor paper. So the line drawings were Xeroxed onto watercolor paper, and then it was watercolor on watercolor paper. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever worked on. But the problem is that we finished our production, and about a week before this thing went to air, Peekaboo Street actually broke her leg. And the Nike people thought it would be disrespectful, so no one ever saw it.
Oh, no.
I think Robert has a copy of it on his website somewhere. Robert did an episode of Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah, good one.
It's the one with the swimming pool.
Yeah,
and the
based on
woman in
a
the speedboat.
sci-fi short story.
Yeah. So and he did Pear Cider and Cigarettes, which was up for an Academy Award a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and I think other people might know him from doing the Gorillas animation.
Yep, he did that too. He's from
He's
Canada.
good.
He's a good
Check
guy.
out Belushi.
Yeah, I
good.
have it pegged here. I'll check it out.
Yeah, totally.
When I knew him, he was stoned whenever he was animating. And he always had his desk so he could stand and animate. So he had it up on two sets of cinder blocks.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Pear Cider and Cigarettes, but apparently it's pretty gut-wrenching
It is.
kind of personal stories.
And I, as far as I know, it's semi-biographical.
Yeah, that's what I understood. And self-produced, which is kind of remarkable.
And
for
then his making
it's like
of
40-minute film.
Yeah,
like
in
that.
his making of for Pear Cider and Cigarettes, he's
Mhm.
like, everyone told me that I should be doing it in either Toon Boom or TV Paint or something. And he's like, oh, I'm just going to do it in Photoshop. And everyone said, no. But he did the whole damn movie in Photoshop.
Yeah, it's
Like,
amazing.
wait, what? You're not supposed to do that. And he's like, and then in the documentary, he's smiling and you can see that he's stoned.
Yeah.
He's smiling.
Yeah.
He's like, it worked. I got it done. I'm not sure I would ever do it that way again, but it worked. All right.
And he's doing another episode for Love, Death, and Robots coming up. So
Yeah. All right. So let me catch up from last week. And when I mean catch up, I don't mean mustard and ketchup, Andrew. All right, so last week we missed. All right, Yolanda, did we see yours last week?
Like my whole thumbnails?
Yeah, this.
Um,
Did we see
you
this
looked at
last-
mine, but I didn't have a complete thumbnail until today. yeah.
But you didn't update this yet. Did you update this?
I put it
No.
in the critique. Was I supposed to put it
Okay,
in the
but we saw this one last week.
I added the new thumbnails to the pages.
To the other one. Okay, but let me just get the. All right, so Christine. All right, Christine, where are you, Christine? Christine. Well, she was here. She disappeared. All right, well, let me just go over this quickly. She's got a story of 3 little ghosts. In my playbook, I would always try to get someone, Andrew, with your butthead people, to try to make sure that each character has a very distinct silhouette. So I might tell her to make the bow on this ghost's head just a little bigger, to make the wings a little straighter so that there's more of a juxtaposition of straights versus curves, and to maybe make this little sad character a little smaller, just so that there's always a difference right there. I looked at this afternoon, and it was kind of hard to follow because her thumbnails are just really small. All right, there's a graveyard, there's a ghost. But it looks like something comes out of the ground and grabs it might not be a ghost, it might be a bird. And then the bird is dead. This is the Oculama. And then a little piece of paper is flying by one of the crosses. It's kind of hard to see this. And then the character comes out of the grave. And he gives the other character a note that says, ooh, there's a ghost party at Marigold Plaza. All right, so there's only 2 characters. And looks like they're going to the party. There's still just 2 characters. They're en route. They're going to the party. It looks like they might be on a train. So there's something not correct about just somewhere between shot 35. It looks like there's something missing. It goes from panel 35 to 54. So there's something missing there about getting these 2 characters onto a train, and they're traveling, they get stomped on. What? All right. All right, to me, I think it looks okay. I just kind of sped read it. So Christine, if you watch the video, email me and I'll try to catch up with you over the weekend with more of a precise critique for you. Fernando. Fernando is here, right?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, so you have your screen, and you did not show last week, right?
No.
Okay, so you have your script. And some maps. And your thumbs. You're going back to that Western style theme. You can't draw a character without a hat, can you?
Mm-hmm.
Without a cowboy hat. All right, so he's looking left and right. He grabs, what is this? What is it? What is it that he's grabbing?
I guess a hoe.
A hoe? What did you call me?
No.
You called me a hoe?
Nope.
All right, is he pulling something out of the ground or is he planting it?
Pulling something out of the ground.
All right, and then the camera pans up to reveal the sky and then pans down again.
Yes. Something like a transition.
Oh, yeah, you could do that if you want. All right, and then all of a sudden we're not in the farm anymore. You're transitioned to more of a town.
Yeah.
Okay. A little continuity thing there, but okay. All right, then he walks in. It looks like they're going to like a little cafe, outdoor cafe.
Mm-hmm.
They're drinking, and you're still in progress.
Yeah.
All right, so these, what size are these as you're drawing them?
16 by 9.
No. What size? Are you drawing thumbnails or are these full boards?
Thumbnails, man.
So what size is the thumbnail? Are you drawing in Photoshop?
No, Procreate.
So what size is your palette?
You know, I don't know. Just
Well, I'm thinking that these are done well enough to be your final boards.
mm-hmm.
And I just kind of, I want to make you hesitate because you really should do thumbnails first.
Okay.
I mean, just as fast as you can. If you have a 4-minute film, a 3-minute film, just do all thumbnails for every single shot so that you can see the sequencing and so you can see the progression of the camera in 20 minutes. So
Okay.
instead, it's like you're working clean right from the get-go. I would encourage you to have a set of thumbnails for your portfolio as well. These look good. Finish it up. We'll try to go over those again next week.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Fernando.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Hands for Fernando. All right. Marquise, you are here. Marquise?
Yes.
Oh, you don't have it. Do you have it in today's?
No, I haven't uploaded them yet.
You are behind.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying
Pay
to.
attention to Canvas.
Yeah.
You gotta recover. All right. Sierra's not here. All right. Who else is here and didn't present last week?
I didn't present last week, but I uploaded a recent file just recently that was the more slightly updated version
Okay. And that's in today's?
in today's.
All right. So let's go over those today.
There
actually-
isn't really a whole.
Actually, what?
Oh, I was going to say there isn't really too much regarding the thumbnails because I just fixed my tablet issue today, and
All right. Let's do this. Take a break. Take 10 minutes. And when we come back, we'll look at the stuff that you have to show today. Take a break. Okay, so from today, what did I do here? I'm in the wrong class. Oh, okay. All right, can you all see my screen? Anybody?
no, I could only see the camera.
All right, how's that?
I can see it now.
There you go. Okay, so this is from the 25 November. All right, so
Yeah.
Yola.
Yeah, you can go down to my thumbnails. So just so you know, I changed the story a little bit and I put it in the end. So it just starts with like a pan. It's also like an establishing shot
Sure.
and a zoom into the window. And then it's the little
So
boy.
remember that. Come on, Toon Boom. Come on, Zoom. It doesn't want to behave. I'm trying to get it to behave, and it's not behaving. There we go. All right, so one thing to keep in mind is that in a shot like this, I know you may not want to cut through the drawing right here, but if you plan a shot and say that this is position A,
Mhm.
right, and then you could even kind of get the horizontal to come across, because you don't want to put a line right through, but you could do that. You'd say this is position A at your start position,
Yeah.
and you come over here like this, and you factor out what your ending position is, and you say this is B position. Maybe you have more room to do it up here. So you have A to B, and you put an arrow like this, and then you can do this. So you're going from A to B to C, right? So, you know, you have camera move A to B to C, but then you're also going all the way into this window. So actually C is right there. You know what I mean?
Like,
So this dotted line is just a passing position between B, which is a view of the house, and now you're just zooming into the window.
mhm.
All right, so, and sometimes what you can do is, let's say that you're doing this in Photoshop, right? And, or any application. Sometimes you can take this and you can just take this as a camera guide and move it up over here. Or you can copy everything from the establishing shot and then just have the establishing shot as a piece of art and then copy it down here in Photoshop and then do a camera move on top of it so that everyone knows. So, I mean, what you could do, what might really be interesting is to start here, to start with the birds flying. See what I mean? And then you're being poetic about it. So that's A, and then this becomes B, and then this becomes C, and then this becomes D. I think that's a more poetic way to handle it. All right.
Wow.
All right. So, so you see what I mean? You could just do that and do the camera move like on a separate piece. All right. So the boy and his family know that he's going to his dad.
And his dad like shows him a map, and then he starts telling him a story about an Aztec god of land. And he like narrates the story, saying that the Aztec god was visited by like outsiders and receiving or like taking what they were giving, like food, to the outsiders. The outsiders took like a golden earring off one of the women, and then they started attacking the village. They wanted their treasure instead. And so there's a part where the god gets angry after he gets stabbed, and he like tears the person's body in half that like stabbed him, and one of the comrades calls for more troops. And right then and there, he gets so angry, like he starts cracking land because he's like the god of land. So he's able to like manipulate the land. And so he broke apart the land that was part of his village, and he took it up into the sky and left. And the dad just ends the story there with the son, and he grabs a photo of his wife and says that his wife went to look for this land. And he says that this is what he wants to do. He wants to find the mom. And then a time passes after the last, And so I used the same shot that I had last time, but it starts with the boy just playing with the plane, and then his dad calls him into the garage. Isabel, and he calls his dad in, down below. He shows him what he has made, and he pushes it out of the garage. And oh my god! And then he pushes it all the way out to like flatland, and gives his son a hug goodbye and tells him that he's gonna go after his mom. And so this is the part where he sees his father go off. And oh my god, bro. And then the twist is that the son is just telling a story to one of the like orphan mates he lives with, and he's saying that this is how his father like left him, but in reality his father didn't leave him. What they don't know is that after his mother died, his dad like took his life.
His dad took his life?
Yeah, like he took his own life.
Did he take his own life or did he just get lost?
No, like he took his own life. Wait, you can go down. There's like one more. He's like talking to the orphan boy, and then the nun comes in, and she's like, "It's time to go to sleep." And so, what I'm saying here is that the boy was an orphan to begin with. Like the story of his father being like and never coming back to go after his mother is never true. Like his dad.
Right. Okay, so
died.
one thing that you may want to do is that you may want to treat all of this story differently. And so you can have like a little, I mean, it's up to you, like a little dreamy effect on the exterior.
Oh yeah, like a watercolor effect.
Yeah, something like that, or it's like
Yeah.
slightly out of focus.
Yeah.
There was a comment that I was making about Over the Moon. Did you see Over the Moon yet?
I watched to the part where she saw she went after the thing that the lady told her to get.
Well, I think that when we're talking about story and continuity and artistic value and production value, one of the things about Over the Moon is that she meets all these fantastic, crazy, wonderful characters, right? But she doesn't change.
Yeah.
And therefore, we don't know if she's in the magical world or not. And I thought that it would be really interesting is if they changed her model a little bit so that we knew every moment that she's in that other world, that her and her brother-to-be are in the magical world because they look a little different. Their design is a little different. Their coloring is a little different. And then I think it would be a little easier to understand that they are in the magical world. So you could do the same thing. You could, empirically, you could have kind of, you know, some sort of like old photograph kind of look, you know, to this.
Yeah, like the old like film sort of.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that you can do. Just, it's not giving me my pencil. Just to let the audience know that this all was in his story world. And then when you fade here, when you DX here, remember what DX means? Cross dissolve, right? So you say transition, but you just should say DX 4 seconds, because then that means a big passage of time. And then everyone gets the idea that now we are back in the actual real world. So I think that this is good. I think it's fine. I'm just kind of wondering, like, what else are you thinking of doing to this for drawings? What else do you have to do?
Like to finish it?
To finish, I mean, this is due in 3 weeks. So what else are you?
Ooh. Well, I mean, if like dreamlike thing or like the old film, like I guess I could probably, if I storyboard like a watercolor effect to the dreamlike, and then like a black and white to the.
For the real world?
Yeah, for the real world.
Right, you could do that. So do some like visual development I mean, the boards look really good. You know, this is something that I might want to use next week to do an animatic. You know, one of the things that, and having said that, I think that what might make sense to do is to go in here now. Now that you've got this set up, I think that there are a couple of things to think about. You've got like this establishing shot right there. And so one of the things to make this just extremely obvious to everybody is that so this is kind of maybe, okay, so this is a problem right here, because you start at a wide shot, or you start in a close-up or whatever it is, and then you pull out and then you pan down so that this makes sense, right? So that this whole shot 1A makes sense. But then here,
Yeah.
this guy is actually walking down the steps right here. So if you cut to this, that's actually a jump cut. You see the error?
Yeah.
It's because you started out close, then you pulled
Yeah.
out, and then you panned down to reveal the whole temple and the whole village, and that's here. But then this shot is actually right there. So what you may want to do is like have a different shot of him walking down the temple steps here. You know what I mean? Because this
Yeah.
is
So,
technically a cinematic jump cut. And then I think that you need multiple panels. So I think you've got everything established pretty well, but I think you're going to need just a couple extra panels in between each one of these to describe the actions. You know, like this one to this one is probably okay, but just go through and make sure that your actions are clear. And one of the reasons why I say this is because if you're a story artist and you're doing your storyboards, they go to layout. And when a set of storyboards goes to layout, you don't want anything to be confusing. You want your animators to be able to just start animating every shot. So from what we see here, there's a couple of things that are already pretty good that are okay. Like this guy's getting mad, right? He's jumping up and down, right? So then, but we cut. So I think that there's a shot or a panel or two missing right here, because are you going to pull out? Or, you know, are you going to crash out to reveal where this is? In other words, where is he in this shot?
well, he's like technically standing in front of the pyramid, but way like in front.
So again, I think that it becomes just kind of a jump cut. So
Yeah.
I think you need a couple panels just right in here to describe exactly what's going on in terms of camera. This is okay. For some reason my thing's not taking my, there we go. So this sequence is okay, right? And then it ends right here. So now are you back in the real world here when the two boys are talking in this panel right here?
Oh, right here is just
Right there. Is this the real world?
No, it's the continuation of the father telling him what's going on,
Okay.
like in a story.
Well, I like the idea maybe of the story is black and white, and then you
Oh.
cut back to the real world, which is color,
Yeah.
right? But you could also reverse that.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you can't say his imagination, he has a vivid imagination. So everything that he's doing as in telling the story is in color, and then you end in black and white. You start and you end in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that might be just a really nice way to handle it. So have you ever seen the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
I
There's a
don't
movie.
think so.
from the late 60s, early 70s called Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Sounds very familiar.
If you've got a car that flies, you're going to have to go watch that movie or see some clips of it with Dick Van Dyke. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah, I heard of it, but
if you've got a car that flies, you have to know that. All right,
okay.
it's looking pretty good here. I would just recommend that, doing some visual development and paying attention to whether or not you need extra panels. The other thing that I could recommend to you is to photograph these better.
Yeah, I was rushed.
You've
but,
got, no, I don't know what I did here. I clicked on something. You've got a hotspot. So get a better camera and retake these so that there's more of an even, or scan them or whatever, so that there's more of an even exposure. It was good.
Okay.
Thank you, Yola. Clap, please.
Thank you.
All right, Jesse B.
Yeah, I added a few more pages.
Okay.
So those are thumbs.
There's from last week, right?
Yeah, it's from last
Did you
week.
like my suggestion from last week?
I did. I didn't implement it yet, but
Okay.
I think it had to do with, was it shaking the frame? No,
Yeah, camera shake.
camera shake. Yeah.
Well, the other part was that the popcorn's eating popcorn.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Those zombies.
All right, where you added? You added.
So those, I think I added, and then those I definitely added. I don't know if you saw that third page, but
This one?
that one I think you did see. It's just kind of a continuation of the delivery. And then delivery guy brings it in.
All right, so remember, use a line of action. If this guy's wheeling here, then have his force,
Okay.
have this foot be back, have this foot be more forward. It's a better line of action.
Mm-hmm.
Line of action, every single
Yeah.
shot. You know,
Yeah, I got it.
That's why I was really pushing the idea of doing thumbnails, because then you can kind of get the pose in the right position, and you can push the pose if you need to. Pushing the pose is pushing the line of action. If you've got a character that's just running, right?
Yeah.
He's just running. Well, one way to push the pose is to push the line of action. So now he's running really fast, right? See it?
Mm-hmm.
So push.
Okay. And I added a panel because I felt like it needed more variety of angle on it. So
Yeah.
did a little bit. And they're pretty sketchy still, but
So these are just model sheets.
yeah.
So even if you're doing model sheets, get that line of action in there. It changes the pose. So all of a sudden, this guy has got his leg up, and you could take this and put it right on his hip. It's a better pose. Same thing with this guy. I mean, just have fun with the pose. You know, get him as bent as you possibly can. And think about the silhouette. So then this knee could be in.
I was trying to do that, trying to exaggerate him the most.
So study just the gesture. What if his study it backwards. You know,
Mhm.
get this leg over here, get this leg up in the air, get the, you know, use this same hand and this same hand. But now he's really off balance right there. You see it?
Hmm.
Is there a reason why this guy is just static? You know, you could have more fun with him.
Hmm.
So this is what I mean just about the gesture. It-
Yeah,
it-
I think
it-
where I'm struggling somewhat too is like making any one of them have any kind of interest. Like when, you know, you had mentioned early on about the idea of intention, like what's their goal, what are they trying to do, and I don't know that I have that for the characters as much.
Right.
I'm sort of been focused on this kind of arc of the corn kernel to a popcorn as a sort of thing of life, and then I planted it inside of this world, but I don't know what do they do. So I think I'm
Right,
still ruminating on it.
So there's just go back to the Fluby Newbie thing that we talked about,
Hmm.
right? Remember that website I shared with you?
Yeah.
She's not responding. Hi, Brooke.
Hello.
Did you see what I did?
Oh, I was looking at who else here, so I couldn't read that.
Silly person.
I see it. Thank you.
All right, so that would be my recommendations, Jesse.
Okay.
Just go back to Fluby Newbie and have more fun with those poses.
Mhm.
Hands for Jesse, everybody. All right, Christine is not here, right? So we went over the version of this one earlier. Andrew? This is all the same from last week, or it looks like you
It's-
might have,
I did a few edits.
it looks like you edited it.
Do you want me to go over it again?
No, I'm gonna, because I want to try to get out of here quickly so you can all get ready for your cranberry.
All right, I like that.
So I'm looking at it.
It's a cranberry.
All right, it looks like you improved it a little bit. I'm not convinced about the view on this car right here.
All right, I'll change it.
You know,
Are you talking about for 27?
No, 26.
26, okay.
And the reason for that is just because I don't want anyone using isometric perspective. It looks like the car comes in from off the screen this way, right?
Yeah, it's turning. It's like going up the driveway.
Yeah, it's not, it's okay.
It's okay?
It's okay. So these are still thumbs, right?
Yeah, these are thumbs.
All right, so you're guiding yourself. And what's happening in panel 32? Is the car turning?
Yeah, it's turning into a
backing
parking
into-
spot.
Okay. Yeah, work on that perspective a little bit. All right, and then we went over those cameras. So it looks like you got the side view like I suggested. Or no, wait, I suggested a perspective.
You
Remember that?
suggested changing the perspective on like the 41, 42 shots, or
Right. You still have those notes?
I took some notes. I was hoping to get on the YouTube lecture recording or whatever this is.
Well, it was.
But
it was-
there
it
was
was
some
just
error
this. It
and
was
it didn't
just
record
that-
it.
You go from a rear shot to a side shot. And
Yeah.
just kind of like we were talking about earlier about doing a bridge shot, where that right here, it might make sense to go from a rear shot to something that's 3/4. And so that it ends up looking like your camera goes around to the side view. So don't pass on the idea of getting your characters lined up in a shot where we see the building in 3/4.
All right.
Between panel 79 and 80. No, that's okay. Never mind. Okay. Okay. All right. From what I see, get going on your final boards.
All right, great.
All right. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Yay. All right, Fernando.
You already did mines.
I already did yours. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hannah Joy. Hannah Joy.
Yeah.
Did you see my note in the chat?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I still got a lot more boards to do. Thumbs.
That's okay. This is a great little drawing right here. All right, your thumbs are great. Nothing's catching my eye. There's no continuity errors. Drawings are good. It looks like you took my suggestion and actually got some thumbnails. That's good. And then you're just start doing your boards. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Hannah Joy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah Joy. Oh, we did it again. All right, Jasmine,
Hey,
did we see any of this last week?
yeah, you told me to change, sorry, you told me to change my character design, so I
Just
did.
oh,
Like,
right. So you worked on those. Okay.
And
And
then I
you-
added a few more panels and got rid of some. Well, I'm just kind of in the editing process of like which ones, what do I want?
Right. So these are still thumbs. They're looking good. They're looking okay. I'm worried that your camera is just a little far away by shot 4. I think that as long as your character is in bed and getting up in panel 7, I don't think you. So what happens is if you go from a shot like 7 where you're in a medium shot and then you go to a wide shot in panel 8, that's called disengaging your character. And that means that you're being less intimate with the character. You have less chance as an animator to show acting. And so just because she leaves the room doesn't mean you have to have a wide camera. So you've got the camera in on her. I would just stay there. If you wanted to use this shot, you could just use this as an establishing shot of the room. You know what I mean? So you could have her just still sleeping. Oh, she's in a room. There's where all the stuff is. Then you cut to her, the side view, her waking up. And then you can cut back to the establishing shot, but just frame in on it just really close so that the camera is still a couple of feet away from her. And then I think the other ones can follow the same thing. I think your camera is just a little too far away.
Okay.
So what's happening with the fantasy sequence right here?
So it's basically the girl's turning into an owl. So it's kind of like a reverse, like wait, like the expectation is she becomes a more pretty princess-like
Okay.
person. Actually, just an owl.
Sorry, I'm thinking and I'm trying not to hurt myself at the same time. Yeah, I think that'll be okay. And then the same thing happens here. All right, so I think you can just go ahead and start going into your final boards.
Okay.
And then the dancing. Yeah, just pay attention to how far your camera is away from things.
Okay.
Because as long as your camera is like in a wide shot here, you're basically disengaged. So re-engage your camera. Consider being closer, using something like this as an establishing shot, and then zoom in a little bit and then just stay engaged with your character. I think that's better.
So yeah, that's the panel. That's the new panels. Just
Right.
like the creature is scared.
All right. And you've got the right idea about slugging here. You're making me a little bit happy. Thank you, Jasmine. No, it's good.
The least I can do.
No, that's what you should be doing, is thinking about breaking up those shots so that none of those times are the same. All right, you got a lot of stuff here, right?
Yeah, and I just took out a couple of characters because I figured that they didn't interact with the ones that I want to focus on. So
Right. Okay. All right, yeah, just start doing final boards.
okay.
Good, yes, good. And yeah, we went over the story and your references. So, you know, you're missing like the cutest bat of all time, right?
Oh, that is the cutest bat. I
They're-
need to.
So you could still change it. These guys are huge. They're like 3 feet tall from head to toe, and they're like 4. Look at this. Look, they're huge,
Oh my god.
and they're gentle. They eat fruit. That's all they do is eat fruit. I did a whole story on bats.
They're adorable.
Yeah, so maybe you can, before you get into final, is like think about fruit bats, the flying fox.
Okay. Thank you.
Anna's saying yes, she likes that idea. All right, so yes, hands for Jasmine. Looks great.
Jasmine is pretty jazzy.
Okay, Brooke.
Hello.
All right, do we see all of this last week?
So the thumbs are new.
Thumbs are new, okay.
They're actually my second iteration of thumbs, but I did both iterations this week.
Okay.
I took the advice from our guest speakers and I did hand-drawn ones, and then I looked through all the resources they suggested.
Right.
And then I edited all the hand-drawn ones and
Right.
redrew new ones.
So I think that you're a shade away from, you know, you've got rough is a good thing, right? And then you've got clean, which is over here. And both of these are good, but I think you're pushing towards the M, which is messy.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you're drawing quickly and you've got the head, get the line of action in there, you know, or whatever it is, so that, because right now, if this is an anticipation
Mm-hmm.
and then this is a run, then you've got to follow through on that run. So I think the the drawing process is head, line of action. And then you just, you know, every time I do that, it kills my drawing. I accidentally hit the middle mouse. So instead of this, you know, you could like have her running.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you want to explore this pose? You know, when my daughter was little, she ran like this. She ran with both hands straight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So explore how to do these gestures. It's you've got the speed of the line, but pay more attention to the gesture itself and the proportion of the head to the body.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so and I think the story didn't change, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and remember, I asked you to work on the squirrel.
I did. That's the improved squirrel.
But there's no ears on it, Brooke.
It does, but they blend in. I'll work on the silhouette of the squirrel.
Yeah. Oops, I spelled squirrel wrong.
It has a much bushier tail and much better legs.
Yeah, the tail's there, but you missed the ears. You missed the ears, so that now it looks like a dog or a hot dog. Head, line of action, get the little body in there, get his feet, go back and look at the squirrel and say, oh, I want the line of action to be this way. You see that? So if I go here and I see can you see this?
Yeah.
So his line of action is like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then his body is basically a bean.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little bean shape. And then his feet, his shoulders, his arms, and his tail. And then don't forget these ears. And if you don't get the little ears in there, it'll never look like a squirrel. Right? So this is going to track onto this one, but that's okay. So, but that's good, right? You can keep that. So you got this, you got the little body, you got his feet. In this example here, I can see that there's one foot and you can see both feet. That's like a good silhouette.
Mm-hmm.
So keep the other foot over here, get those little ears in there, and then get that little, so I think this is backwards. You want to go out and then back in.
Mm-hmm.
Even this little sketch looks more like a squirrel. And remember, you're doing color on top of something that still needs a little bit of design refinement.
Mm-hmm.
So get more of the proportions correct. How do you want the head, the neck to hook up? How do you want those shoulders to hook up? You know, if she can be in action, that's fine. But I think that you want this arm to have a better silhouette against the body. This arm should have better silhouette. And then get the dress to have a curve like this so that it's more three-dimensional. And if you need to do a close-up on the face, how do you break it apart? How do you want her face to be built?
Mm-hmm.
So you can do a close-up on her face.
That's it. The rest of it's
Okay.
the same stuff as last
All right,
week.
thank you, Brooke. And we'll save, hopefully we'll have enough time to go over to the film. We'll have enough time.
Awesome.
All right, Aaron, are you still with us?
I'm still here. So this is the original executive summary. This is just the previous document from last week. However, the second PDF is the one that includes the actual designs and it's explained why one is digital and one is actually hand-drawn. It's because I was originally trying to do everything over on paper because I was having tablet trouble. Got it fixed recently, so I was able to do some of the actual thumbs here, which I'll be very glad to explain. So I wanted to open this up with a establishing shot of the Kentucky Mammoth Caves and have the Scoutmaster up in the frame along with Henry. Not Henry. Was it Henry? Along with the other main protagonist, sort of mimicking a little bit of that White House cinematography.
What kind of
And then
cinematography?
I was trying to base some of the cinematography for this project off of the Lighthouse.
What White House?
Oh no, the Lighthouse. Sorry, the one by Robert Eggers.
Oh,
that movie.
Okay. Go ahead.
So we open up with.
You're still doing thumbs.
I'm still doing thumbs, yes.
Well, I would just recommend, crash through your thumbs, get them all down so we can see them all next week. Then you'll have 2 weeks to do final boards. Consider some sort of camera move. It's always a good thing.
I was actually going to have that very last frame down there be a trucking shot because I was going to, at that point, I would have had the Scoutmaster walking past the row of Boy Scouts while the camera just follows him up until he reaches the point where he realizes that one of the scouts is missing.
Right. Well, I think you need to explain that in your story. So get everything drawn out in thumbnail form so that your continuity is okay, your cameras are okay, your drawings are okay. If it's a 2-minute film, you should have upwards of 50 panels. Just keep that in mind, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. Hands for Aaron. All right, Christo has got a new story. You want to talk, Christo?
I hate doing this. Okay, yeah. Wait, oh no, wait, wait, oh no, it shrunk. Wait, it shrunk. Okay. So I made a new story. It's about a bunny wants to know what's in the box. So the bunny comes and sees the box, and then he does a little thinking with his hand. So the bunny goes away, and he gets a smaller box. Slowly, but manages to push it to the bigger box, climbs over it, and finds that it's taped shut. So the bunny gets a little frustrated, so he leaves, and he comes back with scissors, puts the scissors on the tape, and then he opens the box, and then there's a carrot inside the box. So the bunny jumps in the box and opens the carrot, throws it out, rummages a little more in the box, and comes out with a little holographic machine. So the bunny puts it on the ground, edits the DNA, and then carrots fall from the sky. And now he's happy.
All right, I think it's definitely a better story. Let me talk about a couple of things for you. All right, so it looks like you're employing how are you drawing this in Photoshop?
Yes, Photoshop.
So you need a title card. You need your slug, both panel numbers, shot numbers, timing numbers. I think that this is a really hard shot to pull off like this, where your title card, maybe have a box that's in perspective. You just have this box sitting there, and you have a horizon, you have other stuff in the shot. So it's really hard to just make the horizon completely parallel with the picture frame. It's just not good cinema. Get the box to have some sort of 2-point perspective so that you have something to play with in terms of a stage. And the bunny can be here. I think that once the bunny gets there, I think your camera is too far away. So engage your character. Let us see this. If he's putting his hand to his mouth here, head, line of action, body, the little bean shape, his little ears, exaggerate those ears maybe. Go back to your character design. You know, if all you need to do is this and you've got a squirrel, right? So give him longer ears.
Yeah.
So, and how are you going to work on these legs? So work on that. And usually bunnies have little tails. I see you got this, but you know, give them more a substantial tail.
I mean, they're very tiny tails. They're small.
Well, I know, but this is a cartoon, so you know, work on that design. So design, camera, so if he's here and he's going to be engaging in this thought, you know, you're acting, and so head, line of action, get his little body there, get his feet, get this foot up here, and just kind of act it out. Right? Maybe he's looking up and he's kind of thinking to himself, what's this other hand over here doing? It's kind of
just hanging out.
So, you know, I think that your drawing should look more like this rather than looks like you're trying to draw with a mouse. Are you trying to draw with a mouse?
No, I was trying to draw a bunny.
No, are you trying to draw the bunny with a mouse?
With a mouse?
Yeah,
No.
are you using a Cintiq or something?
No, it's just a bunny pushing a box, a tinier box to get on top of the box.
Well, I think you should draw more gesturally. And I think you know, we already did the story where we were in the one shot, you know, so this is jarring that you've got an over the head shot, which is good, but you know, all of a sudden it's like somebody else came in and told you to do this. So there are a couple of other things that are incorrect here, and that is
I mean, how could I show that the box has tape?
No, just listen.
Okay.
So the first thing that's incorrect is that you're too far away. You need to engage your character. So use your story panels and your camera in a more advantageous way. So push, then he gets to the box. Then you can open up a little wider once he gets to the box. This is all like unused space right here. You don't need this space. Your camera can be like closer. Remember that I'm suggesting you to use perspective on the box. Once the character comes up on the box, wire his ears out of frame. This is not good cinema.
But because, you know, the camera's not high enough to catch the whole head.
Then move the camera up to him.
Okay.
Then move the camera up, and then start here, and then move the camera up, and then move the camera in so that you can see what he's thinking about.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then this is off model. Even the way you've drawn it here, every time you draw your character, he's a little off model. So draw the head, draw the line of action, even if it's in an over the shoulder shot. You know, and if you've got this kind of drawing, then you might want to reconsider having this shot be a little wider. You know what I mean?
Okay.
All right, again, you've got a character who's almost completely out of the screen. You've got one field in is action safe, and then 2 fields in is title safe, and this character is almost completely out of screen. All right, and then you know, this stuff is starting to work okay, but I would recommend going back and thinking about perspective. So this line is wrong. This should be like this. You know, think about this, the inside of this box, right? Think about the inside of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Draw what is real for the box itself, right? You see this?
Yep.
And then do your staging. It's like, oh, you know, I like those little graphic lines right there. And then the bunny comes in. So I think that would be better. All right, and then you've got the same thing happening here in this panel where you've got an action happening really close to the edge of the screen where it doesn't need to be there. So that, you know, get your camera in the right place. All right, so he goes in, and I don't think you need to show that he's discovered that the carrot is just a housing for something different. But you've done the same error here. This is an important story point here. And this is the action save and the title save area right there. And so the camera should be here. Or whatever, the camera should follow it. If you wanted to do it right, then have this flap of the box down so that we can see the box and that the character or the carrot comes out and the camera can actually follow the carrot. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And it's at that point where if you are going to follow the carrot, that the camera would start here, it follows the carrot, and then it follows the carrot as the carrot hits the ground. And then we see like an extreme close-up on the carrot that it's just a carrot box. So do an ECU on this and let the audience understand. You know, you're trying to tell a story with just one tiny little drawing that is almost completely off the screen. All right, and then the rest of it is starting to work. Again, work on your design just a little more. I think that even he's getting better. Don't hesitate on giving a bigger tail. Watch your camera. That, you know, you've got lots of dead space, so get your camera where it's telling a better story. So this camera is too far away, and this camera is almost too close. Again, use perspective. I want to see perspective in every single shot.
Okay. Do my best.
All right, and then I think that you need to make a stronger connection to both how the bunny turns on this device. And I think that DNA is more of a rounded kind of helix rather than straight. So if you just do like, see how it's rounded?
Oh yeah.
You know, so don't make that mistake so that it looks like it's just geometry. But you've got to make a connection that this device is the thing that created the carrot. And I don't know how you're going to do that. And then I think that you're missing the chance to really explore how the bunny feels about it. You know, he's jumping for joy. So let him jump for joy. Yay, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, let him jump up off the ground. You know, you've got this little eye thing right here. And because he's created a mound of carrots, let him have a huge mound of carrots and let him jump for joy. Woohoo, right? You know, you can even do that vaudevillian thing where the characters click their heels together.
Mm-hmm.
So you're missing all kinds of fun poses here in replacement of just this tiny little curved eye. I would recommend just a huge mound of carrots and you know, exaggerate it. How big do you want this mound of carrots to be? And then what is his reaction when he first sees that? You know, in a story panel, he would be like looking up and his eyes would be like, you know, and then he'd be like, what? In one panel, he'd be like, what? And then in the next panel, he would be like really happy. Like, you know, so work on those expressions.
Okay.
All right, hands for Christo, everybody. Evelyn, are you here today?
Yep,
Evelyn?
I'm here. Okay. I had kind of trouble coming up with a story, so it might seem, I don't know, just okay. So that's just me working out what the characters would look like. If you go below, I have thumbnails that don't necessarily look like that in the story. Okay, so the title card is Lost. That's like the little map. So the scene opens up, it's like a snowy forest, and then like enter the mother character. In front of her on the horse is like her kid. So they're going to a river, and then she gets off, and then she signs. So the little girl is deaf, just by the way.
Okay.
And then did I delete? Oh shoot, I think I deleted a page. Because after that is supposed to be a whole nother page. Maybe if you go down, there might be like a 13. No? Oh, darn. Okay, I might have deleted it on the re-upload, but I can share my screen just for the second page.
Oh, okay.
One second. Okay.
Just go ahead. Do you have all of them lined up right there?
Yeah, actually.
So go ahead and be expeditious about it. Be quick. Don't dwell. They're thumbnails, so just tell the story.
Right. So she just like signing like I'm gonna go fish, and then you can gather like firewood. So the little girl does that. She looks at the water with kind of like a scared look. That'll be relevant later, so that's why I'm explaining that. And then as she's going to gather firewood, there's a bunny, and then she takes out her knife. She's gonna hunt that bunny. She chases it, and then she stumbles upon like a clearing with a giant tree. And then she's kind of spooked because she's in a random clearing, and then she goes back, runs back. She looks around, she's lost, and then she blows her whistle because it's like a whistle that her mom gave her because you're like deaf, you don't know how to make noise. And then but no one comes, so like later she sits in a tree, and then she goes back to the clearing, and then she kind of climbs it with the idea like maybe she can like spot the river from a high place. And as she's climbing, there's like a bunch of crows, and then they're like cawing, and then she's like, oh, like this is gonna be weird, but she can hear suddenly, and then they're like really annoying her or like scaring her.
Well, now how are we supposed to know that she can hear? That's going to be
covers her ears. Yeah,
that's going to be impossible to show in a cartoon. So rethink that part. Because then can she hear from the rest of the story on?
Yeah.
So does that mean the crows were magic?
Yeah, it's not really relevant for her to hear at the end, but
then don't do it. It's going to be hard to talk about anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So
I disagree. I like that you have her with her hands on her ears. It shows that she's sort of surprised and suddenly hearing. But that's just my 2 cents.
Well, then you're going to have to show some sort of relationship to how the crows or whatever made that happen.
Maybe there could be like sound waves that kind of go into her ear canal, and then I don't know.
And a change of expression. Like, is this the first time
like maybe
she's ever heard in her whole life?
Yes, because at the end, like the ending is kind of why I put that in there, but it's not super necessary. But I'll just go through and then I'll tell you why I thought that might be a thing I could put.
Right.
So the birds fly away. She feels a tap on her shoulder, and then she looks behind. Oh my God, it's an old lady. And then, but she recognizes her because she's like, that's my mom, because she knows how to sign and kind of looks like my mom when she's old. And then the next one, you know, after being comforted by her mom, who is older, and then, you know, she looks like her young self again, and then, you know, the tree starts to glow. It's kind of like a spiritual tree place. And then there's like a flashback where I'm basically explaining how she died.
Oh, she died?
She died, which is why I'm like, oh, she can hear, because, you know, she's dead now.
Okay.
I don't know. But so her mom is fishing at that point when she told her to gather firewood, but she notices the snow crumbles, so she blows a whistle. She's kind of like trying to alert her, and then so she looks back, and then but she doesn't really understand, so the girl goes to her mom, but then the snow starts to crumble underneath her foot, and then she falls into the water. Mom tries to catch her, catches the whistle instead that hangs on her neck. But she falls into the water, and then her mom is like, goes after her, looks around, doesn't see her, and then she's washed ashore. She has the whistle in her hand. She's really like sad, and then like I did a crossfade, and then time passed, and then it's like later she would hear the whistle sound, but then, you know, that's the story of like how she eventually meets her daughter in the afterlife.
Okay. I'm just trying to parse this out. So was did she come back to life?
No, it's like she's like, her spirit is kind of like wandering, because like her spirit is lost. So I kind of had the idea like
But in her imagination she could hear.
yeah, I guess like in this event when like her spirit is released at the end, she could hear. But if it's like doesn't make sense, I could take it out. But yeah,
No. I think what you've got is interesting now that we've seen it, but I think that you need to work on a particular motif, and that is, and now I can't do this again. Oh, here we go. So in the one panel, oh, you stopped
did you want me
sharing.
to stop sharing? Sorry.
No, that's okay. Share again. Share again, please. Okay, so what I would recommend is in the panel where she's holding her ears, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, make this as dramatic as you can. And just with this little gesture, it's obvious to me that the side view isn't the best. So try something more in the 3/4, and so that you've got the ability to see both of her hands and her eyes closed and squinting. This is the first time that she's ever been able to hear. And so you could even use this kind of progression where she's looking at the crows like this, right? And so she's just looking at the crows, and then something happens. So there's a reverse of the line of action. She goes down and her hands come up to put her hands on her ears. And then you can cut to a 3/4 where we can really see like, right? So the thing I would ask you to do is act this out yourself. Act this sequence out about how you want this to happen. And then right when this is happening, this is where magic is happening, right?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
So this is her real world. She's still deaf right here. But by the time she hears for the first time, that's when she crosses over into the magical world. So you've got to treat this differently. Right from this point, you've got to like think about her reaction or something that's going to keep this sequence magical, like that. And then when you can go through that whole thing of the transition, the mom or the grandma or whatever, and then consider ending on that same kind of pose where she's got her hands up to her ears in the final sequence, right? And then that brings her out of the magical world. See that little bookends right here? And then she can turn around, she can look around and go, oh, that was just a dream, or that was just a in my imagination kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but in story, it's like she's already dead, so she doesn't like go back to reality. She kind of just, it's like,
Wait, Hannah Joy put something in the chat and I couldn't see it.
do I have to?
I can't. Yes. Go ahead.
I'll just say it. She could kind of cover her ears again, like, because like if you first could hear and then you would cover your ears again because it's too loud. And then I thought maybe you could look up some references of like videos of people getting their hearing for the first time, like restored or something, because I'm sure their reactions would kind of help with working out how to sort of put that on the storyboard.
Yeah, think about that. The other thing that I would ask you to think about is just that, is she alive in any part of the story?
She's alive at the beginning, but like basically her whole wandering and getting lost into the woods, it's kind of like her spirit is wandering. So at that point she's dead. So maybe I didn't put the flashback in the right place, but yeah, so she's dead, and then her spirit is wandering through the woods, and like the tree kind of represents, like that point between the real life and the afterlife.
All right, well, here's what we'll do. These are still basic thumbnails, so go ahead and get your boards in production, and we'll talk next week just about how to fine tune that transition and maybe how we can tweak the ending just a little bit so that we know that